FPK, Future Proof Knowledge Podcast. Mind unlocked. With every episode we cast real talk, real tools, wisdom on the fly. Tune in, geek out, reach for the sky. FPK, Future Proof Knowledge Podcast.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Future Proof Knowledge Podcast, episode 001. And the reason I'm saying 001 is because we're going to have hundreds of them. So the rest of the cohort here have just gone, oh no. Our lives are entwined forevermore in future proof knowledge. My name is Alan O'Donoghue, and I will be hosting alongside the wonderful team, the gang of troublemakers that are sitting here beside me. I'm going to hand you straight over to Mr. J. Sean Mills. J. Sean, how are you doing today?
I am doing excellent this morning. I hope everybody's doing as well as I am. I'm J. Sean Mills here with the Future Proof Knowledge Podcast show and the rest of the team. We are happy to have you here. And today we have a couple regular guests that will be with us and team members. I'd like to first introduce, we've got Miss Lisa Fannin. So I'll go ahead and hand it off to Lisa and let her make her introduction this morning.
Hey everybody, it's good to be here. It's good to see your faces, be back with the crew. I'm enjoying a beautiful morning here in Kansas City. The sun is out, someplace a little bit new, so that's fun. And yeah, I'm excited to join, see what we have to talk about.
Brilliant. And we're also joined by one of my favorite people in the whole wide world. My wife doesn't get jealous, I swear. Olive Hickmott. Olive, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fine today, thank you. And,
Excellent.
I've known Alan for, I don't know, many years now. And we've developed stuff together and taken the journey together.
Yeah, and we'll talk a little bit more about that as we crack into things. But this is our very first go at live podcasting. So we're all talking here and we may well not be live on YouTube. Who knows? So maybe one of you guys wants to check it out and let us know. Maybe in the chats you can tell us if we're actually live or if we're all just frozen. We're going to meet here every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Irish time, or I think it's 9 a.m. Pacific time for you, Jay, Sean and Lisa. Is that correct?
9 a.m. on the coast, and I believe 10 a.m. for you, Lisa?
11. I'm in a red zone right now. Yeah, I'm working my way toward you, Al.
You're making your way. You've only a few more time zones to go, and then you'll be sitting here. We'll be kind of sitting on the sofa having this conversation. But like I said, folks, what we're going to do each week is we're going to have guests. We're going to have different topics, and we're open to having topics. Stephen, we're live. Excellent. Thanks for letting us know. Yeah, we're going to be talking about lots of different things. We're going to discuss education. We're going to discuss technology. We're going to look at not just education in terms of school, but in terms of where people learn outside of it. So be it music, art. We've got loads of people lined up that we are really excited to get into the studio to have a conversation. But I suppose, Jay Sean, I wanted to kind of ask you a little bit about your journey that brought you to Future Proof Knowledge. Why the hell are you sitting here?
Well, that's a darn good question there, Alan. So I really don't know why I'm sitting here. How'd I get myself mixed up with this cast of crew? All right, so yeah, I Future Proof Knowledge. How'd I make my way to Future Proof Knowledge? So back in 2020, I got pretty involved in Web3, and I've always been one who loves to learn. And growing up, I thought I was stupid. I could never keep up with everybody else. I could never, I was always behind, and it wasn't because I didn't understand what was going on. I just was always behind. I now learned that my brain just processed things too fast, and I didn't have any tools that can process things as fast as my brain could move. So with the evolution of AI, I found my superpower. So through AI, I've been able to advance my learning skills and the knowledge that I bring in. So met Alan and Lisa in the Web3 world, and we got to talking about what they were working on and what I was doing, and things just made sense. So we started working on FPK University, and from there, again, with the advances of AI, I don't think I'd be here right now sitting with you all if it wasn't for artificial intelligence. And that's, in short, how I found myself here today. Um, but we'll get deeper into that as the show goes along.
It's one of those things, Jay Sean, you know, sliding doors moments. If only you hadn't come onto that Twitter space, you'd have a much happier life now. Things would be going a lot better for you. And I suppose, Lisa, what about you? So tell us a little bit about your journey to the hot seat of
The
Future
hot
Proof
seat.
Knowledge.
Yeah, so I think like Jay Sean, I was not a typical student. I always I caught on to things quickly, but I just struggled a lot in class with paying attention. I was antsy, couldn't sit still. I was an average student. But what I found, you know, I didn't take a typical path through my career. I went to college. I got an associate's degree, but it really just traditional four-year college was not for me. But I found I learned better by doing and learning and sitting alongside people and having them show me how to do things. So I found my way into the world of software engineering, kind of in my early 20s, just by taking things apart, taking computers apart, understanding how things work, playing around with logic, volunteering to help out. And I worked from software testing up through, you know, software development, and then overseeing software development and architecture and product development. So I think, you know, one of the things, Al, I know you and I talk about so much is there are so many different paths to get to kind of where you want to be. And that traditional, you know, path that kids follow, my daughter followed, right? The go to school, get good grades, go to college, you know, 4 years, get good grades, find yourself and work your way up. I just took a different path, and no regrets. It's been great. So I think it's time we change the way we think about, you know, helping young people learn and reach their goals. There isn't one path to their destination.
Absolutely. And I think we've all probably mentioned at different times in our careers where we notice the impact that the system can have on people and their belief, because children are so young and so impressionable. They don't know that actually how they learn is okay, because the system just tells them, not individuals, but the system just tells them that you just don't get it, and they can internalize that. And we'll kind of delve into that over the different weeks as we bring different speakers on. But I suppose, Olive, now you and I sat down for a podcast a few years ago to discuss your life, and it was one of the most fascinating conversations I've had. But I love your story of how you went through education and how you became the founder of the Empowering Learning Program, which, if any of you folks haven't checked out, please do. Actually, if you drop us an email to Allen, ALLEN, at fpkuniversity.com, we'll get you onto the list to play around with the Empowering Learning Program on FPK University. But Olive, talk to us about your journey to getting to where you are now.
Wow. I mean, I'm incredibly old, so I mean, it's going to take hours. This.
Give us a summary.
Seriously, the pricey version is that I went through school. I was fine, but I didn't. But I'm so old that they hadn't invented things, the words like dyslexia in those days, and I couldn't spell, and I could read, but I used to go to sleep reading all the time. And so it wasn't very productive. And I have a school report from when I was 16, which said it would be useful if Olive could learn to spell. And I had been in the same school since I was 4, and clearly whatever they'd done hadn't worked. So by sheer fluke, I was good at maths. Sorry, folks, I was good at maths. Most people shudder when you say that. And so I managed to go to university. I had a bit of luck getting to university because I actually failed one of my A levels. And they said, don't worry, we'll take you anyway. I know that this doesn't happen nowadays, I don't think. Anyway, so I went to university, did maths, got a maths degree, became a software engineer straight out of university. And I was doing really interesting, cool things in those days. We were automating hospital laboratories, for example. So where you have your blood taken out and it goes off to the lab for analysis, we worked out all the numbers to tell the doctor back again. And then I got into the internet. And I have to say, I was involved in designing the internet. Now I think to myself, should I own up to this? But there you go. That was what I did. And then I was research and development director in a company for a good couple of years. And then redundancy came along because somebody else had come up with a better idea. And so our company sort of went down the hill. And so I left there and had no idea really what to do, apart from the fact I knew how to launch new products and how to get the whole company organized around launching new products. So I started doing that, and then I stumbled over what is called Neurolinguistic Programming, NLP, and I took my training for that and was a master in that, and I discovered part the way through that in 10 minutes how people who are good at spelling do it. And I went, this is ridiculous. Literally, it was a demonstration of 6 people on the stage, give them a difficult word, it wasn't very difficult, like giraffe to spell, and 3 of them could do it and looked up at the ceiling when they were working out how many R's and how many F's. And the other 3 looked at the floor and were embarrassed because they couldn't remember how to spell it. And so I went over the tea break. But at this point, I'm still not good at spelling myself. So over tea, I said to people, "Do you really do that?" And they all went, "Yes." The ones who are good at spelling, "Yes, we do that." And so I went, "Okay, take a deep breath." And I happen to know the deputy head in a school near me, which was a special needs school. And I knew him socially. And I walked in there on Monday morning after I'd learnt this on Saturday and went, "Excuse me, but have you got anybody that can't spell in your school?" He said, "We've got hundreds. Which ones do you want?" And I started teaching these kids, and I couldn't believe what I could do. And I literally had 10 minutes of training in what we were trying to achieve. And what NLP very much runs on modeling. And if you know somebody who can do something, then how do you, but it doesn't actually tell you quite often, how do you teach 10-year-olds how to do this? So I worked out how to do it with the 10-year-olds, and I've got better and better at it over the last 25 years. I've trained other people to do it. It's really simple. Nobody, in my opinion, should be really struggling with literacy. We know exactly what to do, and it's been integrated into the platform.
And that's why we are sitting here. So I suppose, do you know what somebody said to me recently, Alan, like, you interview lots of people, and you know, the podcasts are made by the people who I interview, but they're like, no one knows your story. And I'm like, I like it that way. I'm quite happy to have it like that. But I was talking to my mum recently, and we were just talking about how school was for me. So she was saying that one of her friends said to her, who was a principal in a school, "Whatever you do, don't teach Alan how to read and spell before he goes to school, because he'll be bored and he'd be whatever. That was fine. So I went to school and I could read and I can spell, because my mum just, that's what she did. She just spelled words around the house, or she'd stick things up on the walls and I'd just kind of see them. And so I went to school and I could spell and I could read, but the system wasn't at the level that I was at. Not saying I was at any spectacular level, but I actually went the opposite direction then, where I kind of got, I think I must have got bored, and I ended up going into what was called at the time a remedial class. Now, it wasn't a full class, but I was taking out a class to kind of help me with my spelling and stuff like that. And I remember sitting there with this small group of other kids going, I don't understand why I'm here. And looking back now, it was just that I was in a class that I could do what the teacher was not showing us what to do yet. And I just got bored. And my imagination would constantly run away with itself. And I'd always be looking out the window. And like, I loved football when I was a kid. I still do. I just wanted to be outside kicking football around. That's all I wanted to do. But I kind of was a mediocre student, got through school, got to my leaving certificate, which is the final exams here in Ireland. And yeah, I didn't quite do as well as I expected I might. I did as well as my effort actually deserved. And I didn't get any offers from any universities in Ireland. So I went, okay, I'll just go to the UK. And I got to go to the UK, studied social science and had a great time. Loved living in the UK. Came back to Ireland and I just found a job working with the young people. And from that moment on to now, I've worked with every single type of young person. So young people who've been in trouble with the law, had drug issues, been abused, mental health issues, educational issues. And the common theme that kept propping up from me the whole way along was, but these people are really clever. Whatever the situation was, they are so clever. Like some of the most phenomenal business people I've met are drug dealers. Unfortunately, they chose due to many, many factors, but one of the situations being a system telling them that you can't do this thing. So they just took their skills and went in a different direction. I just thought to myself, like, surely there has to be a different way. There must be a different way. And then when my kids went to school and they started learning phonics, I was totally and utterly flummoxed. I didn't know what was going on. I was like, what? They're like, phonics, and they would do the phonics, and I had no idea. But then I got introduced to the Empowering Learning program. My dad actually went and got trained by Olive quite a long time ago, and he came back, and at the time I was working in a youth project, and in the youth project there was a young lad who had missed most of second year in school. So he was about 14 and he just couldn't spell 4-letter words. He just couldn't. My dad said to me, do you want to see this thing in action? And I was like, well, what have we got to lose? We'll go for it. So he came in, and within an hour, this kid spelled the word psychologically forwards and in reverse on the first go. And his mum was in tears. My jaw was on the floor. And I was like, what the hell is happening here? So then my dad was like, that's how simple it is. The kid turned around and was like, but that's easy. And he ended up getting his leaving cert. Now, I'm not saying that moment changed his life, but what I'm saying is the impact that had in his confidence in his ability to learn had a massive impact then in him going on. And then I went and got trained and have been running the Empowering Learning program for a number of years. And like that, every single year, tens and hundreds of kids come through the door with their heads down going, I can't learn. And here I am having to come in on a Saturday and do more school. This is going to be terrible. Alan has to stand up there, crack some jokes, try to be funny, which he's not, and get these kids walking out the door on cloud 9, which they all do, because they can turn around, and as Olive says many times, I can do that, is the word that they say. Parents are amazed, and it's the most phenomenal thing. And then as I moved into the Web3 area, looking at technology, because I love my technology, and I started to go, okay, there's an opportunity here for, oh, someone's going crazy there. Olive, I might get you to mute for a second. Thanks. And there's just extra feedback coming on there.
Holy cow! Now that's a show.
Yeah. As I got into the Web3 tech side of things, and I got introduced to AI early on, I thought, well, here's a massive opportunity to revolutionize the education system, and hence we set up Future Proof Knowledge, or FPK University. So it's great to actually be sitting here and having this conversation. But I suppose, Jason, we were having a bit of a chin wag about what we were going to do and where we're going to take this. And we were looking at kind of a few questions, like 5 questions there that we wanted to throw out. So I'm going to get you, Jason, to answer the first one, right? But we want to look at what is future-proof learning and what does it look like? Why is neurodiversity a superpower? And we'll come probably, Olive, to you for that one. What is UDL? And how does AI amplify learning? And what can we all try this week that can actually make a difference as we support our children and young people or ourselves in trying to learn and go in a new direction? So, Jason, go. What is future-proof learning in your eyes?
Well, I think I'll take 2 of those and wrap them into one answer there. So future-proof.
Hold on. No. No, Jason,
Okay. So future-proof learning to me. So as we listen to the stories that we all told right here, there's a common theme, and that is coming from the perspective of individuals, of the individual learner. I think where future-proof learning comes in, and what I imagine future-proof learning is, and taking the AI aspect into it, is in my experience, the biggest downfall in education has been educators. Not saying that educators are bad. We need educators. That's what they're there for. But it's the delivery and the recognizing the different strengths of students. I can think back when I was in class, I was the one who was the goofball, throwing pencils, dropping stuff. And it wasn't because I wanted to be a goofball. It was because I had free time. I can hear the lesson. I didn't need to write it down. I didn't need to read the book. I can retain it when the teacher said it. So when everybody else put their head down to go to pen and paper, I was done. I already knew it. I wasn't good at testing. So with AI now, it allows, AI doesn't have a, it doesn't prejudge. It doesn't look at a student and say, okay, this is what I'm going to teach you based off from what I think you're about. It's going to take the information you give it or answer the questions you ask it, and it's going to be personalized to what you're thinking and what you're trying to gain out of it. So for me, future-proof knowledge is gathering knowledge today that will stand the test of time, learning things now that in 15 years, those skills will be so ingrained that even as new technologies come out, you've already got the baseline, and everything new coming out is just to stack on top of it. Getting back in school, I didn't create a good baseline. I wasn't able to have a foundation to grow on. So everything that was coming at me was just going one ear, out the other ear. I'm imagining you probably have all seen the experiment where you have a jar and it's your brain. And what can your brain hold? You drop in a tennis ball, those are the big things in life. You get a couple of those in there. Then you got a marble. Those are the medium things in life. You drop those in there. Then you pour in sand. Each grain of sand is all the bull in life. And that takes up more space than everything else. So when I'm thinking of future-proof knowledge, I'm thinking of pulling the sand out. I want to take all that useless stuff out of my brain and put in the pertinent stuff that can work as a node. It can branch off into bigger ideas. And with AI and with good people and with educators that are looking at the future of education and not focused on traditional teaching, I think all that together I'm not a speaker. It puts all of future-proof learning in my mind together as a whole. If you take each one of those aspects, put them in a bucket, to me, that's future-proof learning.
Yeah, I love that. And Lisa, I'd love to get kind of your take, because I think, like you've described so well, like your journey and then your daughter's journey, which was quite different in terms of education, but you clearly inspired your daughter as well in many ways. So when we have a model that is based on a 250-year-old experience that, you know, was built for the Industrial Revolution to make us be clever enough to go and operate in the factories. And for the most part, it's pretty much stayed the same, bar things are improving in the last kind of 10 years, definitely. But what's your take on that?
Yeah, thank you for asking. So I've been thinking about this a lot. And also I'm going to, before I jump into that, go back to the same thing Jay Sean said, which is, it is interesting to see the parallels between the four of us. I also was put in a remedial program for very similar reasons. Like I was bored, I was checked out, I was learning, but I wasn't paying attention. And I didn't fit that stereotypical student, you know, form. So I got put in a classroom with a bunch of other kids who didn't fit, and we literally were just babysat and we're taught nothing. So kind of going back to future-proof knowledge or future-proof learning, you know, if you look back to our parents and how they were taught, and what the world around them looked like, things have changed so much. Even the distance between my education and my daughter's education, everything has changed so much. So I think, honestly, the ability to change and adapt is the biggest key to future-proof learning. The ability to take in and, you know, especially as we start to see new technologies coming out like AI, like the internet. Olive mentioned, you know, helping out with the internet, and maybe that was a good thing or not a good thing. That was a great thing, because look at what that has brought us. That has given us the ability to have access to so much information. The ability to have access to podcasts if we want to learn or gather information by listening, if we want to read, if we want to see pictures or diagrams. So I think, you know, future proof, we just need to keep taking in, and that's the beauty of AI, is it's just constantly taking that new information in and growing. I've also been thinking a lot about the brain lately. And one of the things that I've been talking about and focused on, you know, your brain, when a piece of your brain happens to die or is, you know, is on the receiving end of trauma, your brain learns how to form new connections to still, you know, do the same job that it did before, to be able to communicate like it did before. It may take time, but there are different paths to get to that information and to be able to do that job. And I think that's the core of what we're doing here is, you know, we are tapping into those different ways of learning, those different ways of doing things. My oldest daughter was just one of those sit down and read and sit in the classroom and take notes and focus kind of kids. My youngest daughter can sit in a classroom, look like she's not paying attention, go sit in the hallway and crank out her homework, not stress a bit about it, not care at all about it, and she makes the same grades. The way she takes the information in is different. It's completely different, totally different type of student. So different ways to get to the same goal. But I think the key for us is to embrace the changes and to take, you know, take them on board, and we adapt, our educational system adapts as technology adapts, society adapts, everything around us adapts.
Yeah, I think there's no point in us having fear. Not that we shouldn't be cautious. Like there's always going to be bad actors, but you know, we can't fear the potential of this, because it could be fantastic. And I love that you brought up the neuroplasticity, how the brain can change, because so many people will say, I can't do something, and it's just a belief system that they've learned. But if we just add the word yet on the end of that sentence, that gives them the opportunity to change the way the brain operates. And it's really, really important that we encourage people to start to recognize that of course we can change anything. We can learn anything that we want. Olive, talk to us a bit about, because you're a great advocate for neurodiverse students and young people and adults, but what is it that makes neurodiversity a superpower without it being condescending? Oh, Olive, the sound's a bit funny there. It's very scratchy.
There's nothing going on here. It's silent.
Okay, when you're talking, it's fine, actually. So talk away. Tell us about it.
Talk a bit louder.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. The neurodiversity, when I first started doing this work, I was working with dyslexic children, and the first thing I would do was ask them what they were good at. And parents would say to me, why are you asking them what they're good at? They've come here because they've got some things they are not good at. And I went, well, that's okay, but so several things will happen if you talk to them about what they're good at. And there is a lovely expression from Dr. Shankar, which is, if you see a child differently, you will see a different child. And that's exactly what I did. And so I used to say to them, what are you good at? And they'd say, oh, I'll give you one example. I had the under-12 chess champion from my local community in my office one day. And I said, what are you good at? And he went, I don't know really. And I went, I hear you're the under-12 chess champion. He went, oh yeah, okay, I'm good at chess. I said, well, how do you do that? He went, I have no idea. So I said, okay, what are you thinking about when you're playing chess? And he suddenly went, oh, I can imagine the whole chessboard. I can imagine the other players over there and my piece is over here. And if I move this piece, he's going to move that piece, and then he's going to move that piece, etc., etc., etc. And I went, wow, that's why you're good at chess. And he went, no, I think everybody can do that. And I went, no, they can't. So you get them to identify what they're good at, and then you get to help them to do what you know that they can do if they only change slightly the way their brain is doing it. And that's exactly what I did. And I did that. I mean, I've been teaching dyslexic kids how to, as Alan has, how to improve their literacy for 25 years. And it's always, I mean, the kids come out always with the same description. I didn't know I was meant to be doing that. Why didn't somebody tell me? The parents will say, well, it makes so much sense. Why didn't somebody tell us? If I had £1 for every time somebody said it makes so much sense, I'd be a millionaire. But I'm not. And so what we need to do is to just get the message out there. And I've done so many things over the last 25 years to improve the way we do it, to make it easier for people, and also to notice how, I mean, the big thing is mental imagery. This is the pictures you hold in your head, and using those for literacy, using those for numeracy, really simple to teach. And then you've got the other people who are either diagnosed or not diagnosed on the autistic spectrum or ADHD, and they have got typically massive mental images in their heads, which is extremely good when they get older, but it can be really confusing for them when they're little. I mean, we had somebody the other day and we said to her, can you picture a cat? And she went, yes, and looked a bit scared. And I said, how big's the cat? And she's about 3.5 foot tall. And she said, it's up to the ceiling. I mean, anybody who's got a cat that's that big right in front of their face in mental imagery is going to be terrified. And so is it any wonder this child can't concentrate in class? And so thinking about people's mental images with them and somehow I have this real knack of getting into their mental images with them. If somebody starts saying what their cats are doing, I can actually see what they're doing. But there you go. And so it's it's about helping them understand their experience and then helping them move to a more comfortable experience. I mean, nobody can say that a 6-foot cat is comfortable right in front of your face. And so you just get them to find move them away a bit so they shrink, or shrink them down, or take the color out of them or something. So it's just much more comfortable for them. And then you can teach them how to do stuff like literacy and numeracy. Does that answer your question, Alan?
It does, yeah. And it's amazing how powerful that visual image is. And there's probably people tuning in who think, well, it's just an imaginary 6-foot cat. But there's lots of people, lots of adults who will tell themselves, I don't like flying, or I don't like going to the dentist. And if you bring them up to the door of an airplane, you bring them up to the door of a dentist, they will literally go, I can't go in. I literally can't. There is something stopping me from going in. That's the exact same thing. It's the exact same process.
It's the pictures you have in your head.
Exactly. It's the pictures you have in your head. And when we think about anxiety, like anxiety is an emotion of the future, we worry about something bad happening. We usually think about the worst case scenario. And we never think about the best case scenario. And usually the truth is somewhere in the middle, leaning towards the better case scenario. I say that so many times. People are already sick of me.
You have it tattooed on your arm.
Yeah, sick of me saying it. But it's so true that if we can bring things into the here and now and allow each individual, or give sometimes permission for each individual to be able to control their own visual field, it's so, so powerful. I think, Olive, I probably gave you the example before of I was running a course for young people and their parents to show them the process and teach them how to use the empowering learning technique. And there was a mum and a dad and their 2 sons, and the 2 sons were dyslexic. So they sat down, and I actually knew the dad. We'd been in school together. And so we were chatting away, and I was showing them the technique, and the dad goes afterward, Alan, can you come down here? So off I went down, and the dad goes, my little lad can't see pictures in his head. And the little kid went, yes, I can. And the dad went, no, you can't. And the lad was like, no, I can, Dad. And the dad was like, no, it's impossible. You actually can't. And what was happening was the dad couldn't picture the image. He could not cultivate the image, or he didn't believe he could cultivate the image in his head. So he assumed that his son couldn't. And that can cause a lot of challenges when a parent learns a particular way, but the child learns a very different way. And that can be really hard to match up. So in the end, anyway, we went through the process. I said to Dad, look, just trust the process. Listen, take that your son's telling the truth. And then when we moved on to the whiteboard where we're using non-nouns, the dad was like, oh, I can picture that. So he could actually picture the whiteboard, and he could picture the letters on the whiteboard. So like, it just shows the power, once we get it, is so, so phenomenal. Jason, talk to me a little bit about how you think AI can kind of amplify our learning, given the way things are right now.
For me personally, let's use a prime example, coding and technology. I myself, I don't have any education in coding. I've never been trained in coding. But I say this often to people because I talk AI with a lot of people. And every time I talk to them, I tell them, I am a genius because AI says I'm a genius. If there's anything out there I want to do outside of, if it's just physically not possible for me to do, okay, I can't do it. Anything else, I'm capable of learning and I'm capable of doing. I've never been afraid to tear things apart. I owned an upholstery shop, and my wife would always get nervous when a new Mercedes would come in and we need a door panel, and I just start yanking stuff off, ripping it apart. And she's like, oh, I'm just scared to touch it because I don't want to break anything. Well, we can't fix it till we break it. You got to break something to know what to do to put it back together. So with AI, I believe it can really enhance learning.
Just got into the good part too.
Yeah, he was just hitting the nail on the head. Jay Sean will be back with us shortly. Sometimes, bugs happen.
and be able
You're back,
to
Jay Sean.
um,
You dropped away there.
help
We
you
missed you.
think outside of the box, help you gather your thoughts. I'm a person whose brain runs wild, so being able to use AI to confine all my thoughts into a single path, which hopefully is the path of least resistance for my brain, really assists. So using certain tools really assist in education. One tool I'd like to mention is Notebook LM. For anybody, a student, an adult who's trying to learn something, if you plug in the information into the AI, it'll help you summarize, it'll help you build a timeline and build mind maps, which all goes into giving you different in the FPK University is all about. So I believe AI has just unlocked a whole new world where people could personalize their learning paths and personalize their education and get every ounce of knowledge that's available to them at the speed of light and instantaneously. It's no more, I've got to wait till Wednesday and make it to the library and pull a book off the shelf. Thanks to Olive helping create the internet, we can do that by jumping on our computers.
I love
So yeah,
explaining that to my kids. Like back in my day,
Yeah.
we had a question. We had to walk uphill to the library. No.
And like even with my own son, my son is 12 years old. He has autism. He's nonverbal. So education for him and AI, I've been able to track his behaviors using AI. I've been able to track his learning from school and from ABA therapy with AI, and using AI to fine tune the data to know where to point him at the next day he goes to school. So being able to use a system that's so data rich and that can break down and identify certain patterns is invaluable in education. Had if teachers had that tool for each and every student, and they have 30 students in a class, there'd be 30 students at a different level. You might have half the class graduating that class halfway through the year. You might have some that need beyond the year, but each student would have their own path and their own time frame where they would finish it. Whereas now, without AI, everyone's stuck going the same pace. Some students get bored, some go advanced. So yeah, I think AI is just really there as a useful tool that you should always verify. Don't just take it as it comes. You should, and I think that's what makes the education better. If you know that the information can be wrong in some cases, so you're verifying and you're checking the information, that furthers ingrains the knowledge within your mind. So that's the way I think AI really helps us focus and advance our learning and education. Also, the amount of subjects. I used to listen to music all the time. Now I talk to my AI when I'm driving down the road. I have Gemini on and I see something, I ask a question and we have a conversation. My wife would probably be mad because I have more conversations with AI than I do with her. So yeah, AI has just really changed the way I personally think, and the things I learn now, I could never. I believe if I was back in high school, I can graduate high school in year one with AI now.
Yeah.
And think about like the old school way that it's still the way that education is structured. If you were born in this year, during this year, this fourth year, this fifth year, this is what you can learn. And maybe if you're a little bit ahead, we'll let you go ahead and learn a little bit from this next year. But why do we have to have those boundaries? If you have a child or an adult or whomever who are interested in a subject, why put those boundaries? Like, nope, this is only as far as you can go. And I think AI does such a wonderful job of taking, if you want to compare AI to Google, right? I want information about this topic. and you get a list of, here are the websites with data about this topic, and go read them and form your own opinion. But AI technology, as it's developed, really becomes more focused on you and everything you fed into it, and it becomes tailored for you. So hey, based on what I told you yesterday, and I'm asking these questions, it uses the context of the previous discussion to kind of point you in the right direction. I think that's brilliant.
Yeah, I think so too. And when we look at things from the perspective of the individual, it's not about cheating. It's about building on that knowledge. Like, I can't remember anything about what I was taught in school. All it did was got me to an exam, which got me then onto the next thing, which got me onto the next thing. So unless it's information I need to have in the here and now, which, what information do I have to have in the here and now, like, that I can't get on my phone? So, but I love seeing and hearing about teachers and educators and lecturers who are challenging their students to go and actively use AI. And the process that they give them to use is go and fact check it. So they're still learning. They're still trying to understand. But the fact that they're fact checking the AI shows that they're learning.
Yeah.
So it's really, really powerful in that respect. Olive, I know we were chatting beforehand about UDL, or Universal Design for Learning, and we were both kind of talking about it going, yeah, what actually is it? And then we both realized, well, it's what we're doing. So from the brief conversation we have, what's your take on UDL?
I think one of the things to me is that it enables us to learn. If you think about an adult learns what they want to, when they want to, and how they want to. That isn't the model that we use in school. They're all meant to be learning the same stuff, and they are in a particular sequence. And that's the way the system is. I specialize these days in, which is very much in line with what I'm doing with Alan, but in talking to people who've got really good visual memory and really good visual thinking skills. And these people have got a lot of the really clever strengths that we will still need in the future. Creativity, curiosity, imagination, innovation, problem solving, all of those sort of things. And these students who have got really good visual skills have nearly all got those incredible strengths. And so those are the things that I feel most concerned about, because if we don't do something what I should say, back up a moment, I should say is that there's been research that says we start off life with these skills. Everybody does. And what happens is, by the time we got to the age of 4 in primary school, you can measure these skills, and 98% of people tend to be creative geniuses. And if you've had a 4-year-old, you'll probably know they're highly creative. And as they go through school, they lose it. And only 2% of adults are what they identified as being creative geniuses. And this work was done in conjunction with NASA. And so I look at the population now and go, if we're all creative geniuses when we're born, it's really up to us to make sure we keep our creativity, curiosity, problem solving, etc., until we're adults. Those are the sort of skills we desperately need in business. AI is going to be a support for them, but it's not going to be the solution for them. And so I spend my time banging the drum, if you like, about we should be making sure that we are enabling visual thinkers to learn visually. And that's because of what Lisa was saying earlier about back in the day when we started the standard education, that wasn't necessary. What we wanted to do was to get everybody following the same line of thought and They were going to work in the cotton mills and the mines and the army, and they were meant to be following their leader. What we want now is people who positively aren't following their leader and are coming up with different ways of doing things.
I think that gives the opportunity then for some of those creative geniuses to hold on to that creativity and find solutions to the problems that we have. Like Wendy said in the chat, the concerns around AI and the impact on the planet. Well, hopefully some of the creative geniuses that are working on it at the moment will figure out ways to reduce the impact of AI, because like none of us are blind to that fact. We got to find a way to make it more friendly to the planet. So it's really important that we foster those creative thinkers, get the ones who think in a different direction, because they're the most amazing people. They're the ones that come up with some of the most phenomenal, ingenious inventions that the average person would just never think about, because they just can't think that way. And if people can all learn through traditional educational structures. So we don't need to scrap it all and put it all in the bin. We just need to give them the foundation of using skills that they have already, and then building on top of those skills. It's a no-brainer for me. It can be done. So we don't need to, worry about all the money that's been invested in education, in schools, in books, and in universities. That's fine. All we're talking about is using technology so that it helps those to be able to scaffold that learning on top and become as autonomous in their learning as possible. And why would we not want that? It just doesn't make any sense to me. I don't think anybody would say we don't want it.
You're breaking down those barriers of, you're behind, or you're ahead, or you're somewhere in the middle. Kids get put into groups, and those kids that are behind kind of get like their sense of self and sense of success dwindles down, when really, and I'm not going to quote you correctly, Olive, sorry, but they just haven't learned their way yet. It's coming, or, maybe we just aren't teaching them in the right way yet. And then we can get rid of those perceptions of you're doing exceptionally well, you're doing average, and you're behind.
Lisa, I must tell you that I went to a school where, this was back in the day, but we weren't allowed to compare our results at the end of the year with other kids. We literally were not allowed to do that. And that actually gave me a huge amount of freedom. I still no idea where I came in school, even to this day, apart from the fact I got GCSEs and A levels. So we did do that, but we didn't, there is a theory on, the histogram curve. There's a third of the people who are better, there's a third who are worse, and there's all the rest in the middle. And we're teaching for all the rest in the middle, sort of. But we aren't taking any notice of the kids who are really exceptional. And we aren't teaching the kids who are falling off the bottom in a way that actually works for them.
Exactly.
So if anybody's got visual kids on this call and they're visual, please take note of what we've been saying, because these kids have got absolute superpowers, and they need to be nurtured and developed, not lost to humanity and to their local community.
You've hit the nail on the head there, Olive. On that, this episode 001 of the Future Proof Knowledge podcast, has been brought to us today by FPK University. If any of you are interested in joining the FPK University journey and finding out more about it, you can drop me an email and I'll pop it into the chat here, and we will get you set up so that you can actually play around with the beta version of FPK University, which is due to come this very week, which we're really excited about. Before we wrap up, I do want to say next week we have the creators of Snugs, SNUGS.com, snugshq.com. Two educators from Dublin who have created a beautiful cuddly toy, but a story with the cuddly toy that supports children to start to discuss their emotions and understand their emotions a lot more. So we'll have Lisa and Fiona from snugshq.com with us next week. I heard a rumor that they might be sponsoring that podcast as well. So we're very excited to get those on board.
Ooh, a sponsor.
A sponsor, yeah. We're all about the sponsors, Jay Sean. So anyone tuning in, you want to sponsor us, get onto our website and you can get in touch and we will work with you to get the sponsorship on. Before we wrap up, I want to say thank you so much, Jay Sean, Lisa, and Olive for your time. Any closing thoughts? Olive, I'll come to you first. What's been your feeling on your experience of Future Proof Knowledge Podcast Part 1?
Oh, really great. And I think it's going to give people a lot of variety to think about and different ways of looking at things. And I'd like to give people one tip that we use all the time is if you've got a child who is not feeling good about themselves, try and stop them looking down. If they look up, it won't be so bad. So just encourage children to look up when they're feeling down. We have it in the English language, I'm feeling down, or things are looking up. Just remember that, and you will find a child changes.
Like this is why you're one of my favorite people, Olive. Because you drop nuggets like that right at the end. It's like just a mic drop. There we go. Fantastic. And Olive, I think, is going to hopefully join us most weeks. So you got to dig into your nugget case there, Olive, and get loads more for every week. Lisa, have you got any closing?
How can I follow that? I can't follow that.
I don't know.
No, this has just been so much fun to participate in. I love talking to all of you guys. And yeah, I'm excited for future episodes and sponsors. Can we get someone to sponsor a tracker for Jay Sean so you're not always looking for him, Al?
For those of you who don't know, if you haven't been following our social media, Jay Sean went missing. I couldn't find him. I was worried that he wasn't going to turn up, but we got here in the end. So Lisa, thanks so much for those closing remarks. Jay Sean, what about you? Anything to finish off with?
I'll reiterate that neurodiversity is an autism. It is not a disability. Don't let anybody tell you it's a disability. It is a different ability. In Future Proof Knowledge Podcast, first episode, I think I am happy with where we're at. This is my first podcast. I'm glad I was guided by the pro Alan here and these other lovely faces that helped get us through the show. It seems like I got my wires correct. I just need to work on that Wi-Fi now, get that set up properly, because few too many drops here and there. But thank you all for listening. Thank you for coming to the Future Proof Knowledge Podcast show. Be sure to check us out.
Be sure to check us out. Full stop.
Jay Sean out.
He definitely needs to sort out that Wi-Fi. I just want to say thank you so much for all of you folks who've tuned in. You've made this a lot of fun. It's been a pretty decent first live podcast ever, which I've enjoyed. And I'm looking forward to doing more of these. Like I said, we've got tons of guests lined up. We've got musicians, we've got artists, we've got business people, we've got educators, we're going to get young people on here as well to get their voice. So I can't wait to bring more episodes every Tuesday, 5 p.m. Irish time. And yeah, on that note, we're going to sign off with the AI Owl Band giving us our little outro. We'll see you next week.
FPK, Future Proof Knowledge Podcast. Mind unlocked. With every episode we cast real talk, real tools, wisdom on the fly. Tune in, geek out, reach for the sky.